picture.
Back to Brian's Beat.
Got him. Hour 2 of Brian's Beat. I'm Brian, glad to be with you. The only show born at the apex of freedom, entrepreneurship, and nomadism. Let's see. Beautiful, beautiful day. Yeah, I can hardly wait to get outside and enjoy. That'll be a little while, but we'll get out there and really love it. 51 in Taunton, 51 in Fall River, 49 in New Bedford, and thanks to SouthCoast Towing, it's the WBSM app on your smartphone. In fact, I was listening to the station on my smartphone yesterday. 508-996-0500. Did you get a chance to listen to the ABC News at the top of the hour? A couple of things that we've brought up here in the show, things that I've been chastised for, called an idiot for, people just don't want to agree with me about. Well, I take it. I take it. But even ABC News is reporting that Hamas is now heading to Egypt for another round of negotiations. And as the reporter stated, apparently Israel has made important concessions. Note that it's Israel making concessions. It's not Hamas making concessions. Now, when all this first happened, I have to be straight with you. I thought, what the heck is Hamas doing? But as I learn a little bit more about the situation, not stuff that I'm hearing on CNN and Fox and Newsmax and MSNBC and CNN and ABC, you know, the alphabets. I have come to believe that Hamas is waging a battle that they really planned this out. I know you might be thinking, oh, they killed 1,200 people. I'm not saying that they did or did not. But there was a plan behind their attack. People that they took as hostages, lots of Israeli soldiers, male and female, family members of the soldiers and others. Did they kill a lot of people? They did. This was an attack. This was an all out and out attack. The counterattack by Israel in this particular case has been ongoing for 7 months, pretty close to 7 months. I think the 7-month anniversary is Tuesday, being May 7th. And Israel has bombed the smithereens out of that Gaza Strip. They definitely, I mean, what used to stand is now rubble. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But Israel's statement, their stated goal, get rid of Hamas. get the hostages back. How have they done? How have they done? Not too well. Folks might ask this question. You know, they keep on hearing, and I hear the same thing too. You turn on the TV and you hear Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, that it's clearly up to Hamas to make this ceasefire work. Well, if it's up to Hamas, then doesn't that tell you who's in the driver's seat? It's up to Hamas to make that decision. And apparently Hamas has said no each and every time, minus the ceasefire that they had back in, what was it, November, end of October? This is what Hamas has asked for. And it seems like each and every time that somebody comes to the table with a ceasefire proposal, they're not reaching any of the important demands for Hamas. One of those demands, and these aren't in any particular order, the release of folks that are called prisoners that are being held by Israel. That's one. Number two, a clear path to a Palestinian state. That's two. Israel has come out and stated that their objective is to get rid of Hamas. Hamas is sitting there and saying, well, you keep on saying that. You keep on saying you want the hostages, but you're not doing anything to get the hostages. And now you even have Israelis. I mean, there have been polls in Israel that 60% want Netanyahu out of power. He has come out and stated that even if there is a ceasefire, that they're still going to go into Rafah. What kind of ceasefire is that if they're going to go into Rafah? And so the other thing that Hamas wants is a permanent, or as permanent as can be, ceasefire. So if you're wondering why Hamas says no, none of their demands are being met. Now, maybe as we heard on ABC News, maybe some of these demands are being met. I don't know. But I can bet bottom dollar that they weren't being met before, and that's why Hamas keeps saying no. There's no ceasefire on the table, no permanent ceasefire on the table. 40 days is 40 days. Then what are you going to do, start bombing us again? No clear path to a Palestinian state. That's what it's all about. That's if you wonder why the Palestinian people aren't fighting against Hamas, it's because they want a Palestinian state. And it's Hamas that is doing that for them. And sometimes the sad reality is you have to break some eggs in order to make an omelet. And that's why they're putting up with this. I mean, it's terrible carnage. But it's not working for Israel. They've pulled troops out of one area only to find out that the area, the northern area of Gaza, which they attacked first, and they said they cleared that area out, Hamas is still there. And now going after Rafah. This is what Israel is saying. If we go into Rafah, we can weed out the rest of Hamas. They can't get the folks out of the northern part. And now they're going to say, oh, we're going to weed out the... These are the lines that they keep on using time and time again. Bibi keeps on talking about Hamas as terrorist, forgetting the fact that it was the Israeli government that made Hamas what it is today. So, I get it, but it seems Iran, Jordan, Egypt, these countries aren't as fearful of Israel anymore because they've got firepower too. And I think if we look back just a couple of weeks now, when Israel bombed the embassy in Damascus that killed 5 or 6 Iranian people, including a leader, Iran attacked back. What did the United States do? Oh, and then afterwards, let me finish. And then Israel went back after Iran. All right, so we know those 3 scenes. Iran, as we are told, as to believe, gave warning to the United States that this was going to happen. You know, their plan of attack. And so the United States had plenty of time to warn Israel to be ready, to warn France and Britain to be ready. And it turns out the great defense that Israel is purported to have, it was the United States that knocked down the majority of the Iranian drones and missiles that were fired. But it opened up the door to a couple of things. Iran, when they're using drones the way that they did, you know, they may have spent $10,000 for a drone. Not a lot of money in the realm of everything that we talk about. Not that much money. Whereas Israel and or the United States were spending millions to knock these puppies down. Luckily they did. But there's a financial war that Israel is also losing because the Houthis are forcing ships that are going to Israel to make the long way around. And that's costing money. That's costing Israel money that they just don't have. And so I am not dying. That would not be the right word to use, to find out what this new important concessions that Israel is making. By the way, here's the other thing. When you hear that the ceasefire is contingent on Hamas, do you ever hear what's in the deal? Haven't we talked about, especially with Beacon Hill lawmakers and D.C. lawmakers, about the devils in the details? So what's in the details? The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act passed by the House of Representatives last week. Basically what it does, it declares any opposing views onto Israel can now be called anti-Semitism. You're being anti-Semitic when you talk down about Israel. Now imagine that for a second. You talk bad about Israel, and that's being anti-Semitic. You're protesting the war. You're anti-Semitic. A term that's used to reference bullying Jews is now broad-based to an entire nation. You know the odd thing about this? If the U.S. Senate passes the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, if President Biden signs the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, you and me, we'd be allowed to boycott and protest the United States, but we couldn't do the same thing to Israel. If you're spending less than $20 a month for prescription drugs, great. If not, then our monthly fee RX service might be a good option for you. Check for yourself at monthlyfeerx.com. You know, there is another side here. I don't know if it was meant to be like this, but this whole thing dealing with the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, here's one thing that it's really doing. It's keeping folks, talk show hosts, concerned citizens from talking about what's going on down on the southern border. You don't hear people complaining about that with the things that are going on campus. No matter what side of the coin you're on about what's going on with Israel and Hamas, folks aren't talking about the border, and that's been an Achilles heel for this president. You think it's planned like this? Do you wonder at all how it turns out that here we are just a couple of weeks into really hearing about these protests, how the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act got put together relatively quickly? Now, it was out there before. It came up in conversation back in December, I believe. But it went full throttle. The only folks really worried about Israel right now, it's not many of the foreign countries. It's Congress and the president. They're the ones worried. They're the ones that pass this anti-Semitism thing. What does it do? Think about it now. What does it do to stop what's going on in Gaza? What does it do to free the hostages? What it does do, it aims to stop dissent against Israel. That's what it does. It doesn't protect Jewish students, Jewish faculty. By the way, Jewish students, Jewish faculty, they have organized many of these protests that are going on, and they have been arrested. So how are they protected? That's what this whole legislation is about. And now you're going to get the Civil Rights Division cracking down on folks that have a dissenting view to a foreign nation. Now imagine this for a second. You might be okay with this. All right? You might be okay with this. But what happens when it's then extended? Because that's what happens here. Remember, the Civil Rights Act was basically about how blacks are treated here in the United States. Women got added. And then all of a sudden, LGBTQ add-on to that has been added. Disabled folks have been added. These aren't in any particular order. Now, anti-Semitism has been added. How long will it be before you can't say anything bad about China or Russia or some other country? Our freedom of speech is being chiseled away. Can you imagine? Now, you might be saying, yeah, the stuff that Brian says, he shouldn't be allowed to say that. Take him off the air. Arrest him. Here's the thing. If it can happen to me, it sure as heck can happen to you and a lot of other people. I would be worried. I am worried about what I see happening here. And for whatever it's worth, I will just put this preface on to this. I am not a fan of the squad. I am not a fan of the squad. But if you look at how the votes went on the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, the squad, including Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, did not vote for it. For whatever that's worth. 508-996-0500. I appreciate your patience. Hello.
Hey, good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Brian.
The problem is they look for man to protect them instead of God. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, you're never going to be any peace in the world like that. In the world, you will have tribulation, but in Christ, you will have peace. All the apostles, they didn't have no guns to protect them. All they had was the gift of abundant grace that the Lord gave them. They were all martyred with joy, just like Christ, who they followed.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. It's all written. You don't believe that the apostles were all killed?
You know what? I am one of these that say, when it comes to God, I'm one of these, I want verifiable proof. I'm not trying to say that there is no such being. I don't know it to be true.
Oh, I truly do. You know why?
No, you don't know why. And please don't try to convince me of something you cannot convince me of. That's a slap to my face. I do appreciate your call, and I'm fine with you believing what you want to believe. All right, I have no problem with that. But don't try to make me believe what you believe when I'm just got through telling you, yeah, I'm not quite sure about that. I do appreciate your call, though. Let us continue. Hello.
Well, I don't know what you don't believe, so if this is a dangerous call.
Well, you can believe it.
Well, that sounds like a dialogue between Israel and Palestine.
There you go.
They don't know what to believe, but they're going to, it's not going to get resolved until the two peoples decide to resolve it. It's not going to be resolved here, and it's definitely not going to be resolved on the idiots on campus that they look. You got to admit, Brian, they look sillier than I could even imagine for someone that's educated in an Ivy League school system. That they bring out all these so against plastics and environmental issues, and their little encampments had more things in them than a crate and barrel. It's pretty silly, and they're making demands like, "Do you know that we have meal plans?" And it just shows that the confused youth has no sense of real reality and what it takes to.
Are you serious? I'm asking. There was a demand about meal plans, or is that just something
you really? It was actually on TV.
Who did that? Excuse me. What school?
It was at Columbia. It was
really?
a girl that was speaking.
You got to be kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you, Brian. I definitely look at lots of stuff like you do, and generally video is great because it doesn't lie. You can't not believe your lying eyes kind of thing. I guess with AI in the future, video probably could be more false, but when they're doing video in front of these people, and those are the demands. We need water. Do you realize we're on meal plans? Now they're complaining. Now they're complaining because they're in finals week and they want the finals all pushed back, even though the other kids that had to fight to get to finals and study are in the middle of them right now. Now they want their finals pushed back. So I don't know. I'm joking a little bit.
You know what? But, you know what? If they can get that, all the power to them. But I thought the protest was they want the slaughter to stop. And also to that, they don't want their tax dollars. I don't know how many they're paying, but their tax dollars spent to back that war effort.
Well, I think that's definitely two of the things that you hear, but there's a lot of, I don't know, some people say between 40 and 60% of the protesters on campus aren't from campus. They're interlopers. They call them professionals, but whatever that means. I guess you're a professional if you're making money doing what
I was
going to
say, if they're getting paid.
Well, I guess, if you're getting George Soros money, I guess you would be a professional if you're filing taxes for my protests. But I think, then you had other people coming out that were asking for lots of other demands. And they're doing it on top of this protest, which is about Palestine and Israel. And, everything from the environment to, I don't know, my wife and I were listening to someone that stepped up to the mic and was just going right down the progressive left list of everything, imperialist countries should, abandon capitalism, but just going down the list.
Okay.
And the funniest thing was yesterday, Iran, the country of Iran, said that the Royal Iranian College was willing to give tuition free to any of the students that were in the protest if they got booted from campus. And I kept thinking, there's a lot of Iranians that came to this country to come to these schools for a reason and get out of that regime for a reason. Do you think that any of them want to go to Iran to go to college? I mean, that seems like a healthy environment.
Well, I know this about Iran, that their educational program is top notch. And you're correct that there are many Iranians that are here in the United States furthering their education. But they have a great system back there, and folks go back home to help build up. They've got one of the best STEM programs in the world.
I worked for an Iranian that owned a business for 4 years, and he had strong ties back to the home country, although he fled the country when the Shah went down, took his money with him, which is what a lot of them did back in those days. And he had a full-time security guard with him with a gun on his side. So that's how he has to live in a free country here.
Those were, I don't want to say tough times, but I mean, definitely. I ran into some students in 1979, and they thought I was going to start giving them the third degree, and I was, they had nothing to do with what was going on with the hostage situation there.
Iran is actually one of the most westernized Middle Eastern countries out there, aside maybe Egypt as well. But when they were just before the Arab Spring happened, was it 2012, 2011? They were women. They were allowed to get rid of their headdresses and all those sort of things. And the women look like, modern, and the men, for the most part, look like modern Western dressed clothing, makeup, very beautiful. And it seemed like they were thriving, but then the mullahs clamped down and they went right back into, and it's not the religion. That's what I'm saying. If you separate the religion from it, the religion is the religion, but I think that the people, everyone wants to have a better life, including Palestine, but they're going to have to get together with Israel and work it out for themselves. And they should take the peace accord now, even if it's only 90 days, to maybe extend it and to extend it again. But if you don't, then, you're not going to get anywhere because and maybe it's the people that will continue fighting forever, but who knows? So
I don't know. I think that they're looking at it that Israel, Hamas is looking at it as Israel wants a lot of concessions, but they're not willing to give up anything.
And you know what? At some point they're going to have to, if they truly wanted a two-state solution, and they found people that could broker the middle ground. I don't know what that means for Hamas, though, because Hamas isn't the middle ground, right?
I know what it means for Hamas.
What does it mean for Hamas?
So, and this has actually come up because China has now gotten involved in the negotiations along with Russia, and they met last month. And what's going to happen, my guess, this is Brian piecing this together now, is that Hamas is going to reconcile with Fatah, who they're really enemies with right now, but their big enemy is Israel. And so they're going to make a deal where Fatah actually ends up being the leader, but Hamas will still have people within that regime. So they get to save a little face. Israel turns around and looks at it, well, at least we got Hamas out of power. That's what I see happening. Oh, and the other part here is China is going to end up rebuilding Gaza.
Yeah, well, China is this Belt and Road policy is the road's wearing out and the belt is about out of stretch on it. I mean, China is actually in deep trouble financially right now, and they're continuing this plan. And I think peace is great, and if that's what they're doing, fantastic. But that's not what they're really trying to tentacleize the world, signing military agreements in the South Pacific, and they're doing all sorts of stuff that's could be considered destabilizing, as just sort of put it. So, it sounds like I'm hearing something similar. The only difference is you're talking China. Other folks were talking the United States. Yeah, well, think about it this way, and I'll leave you with this. After World War II, we went into World War II reluctantly until the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and then we went into both theaters eventually. But after World War II, the entire world was on its heels, and matter of fact, most cities were bombed to the ground. The United States went in and rebuilt those cities and allowed them to continue, including Germany, Austria. We could have easily said, oh, well, if we were evil as a country, we could have just said we're taking over the world, because there's nothing that would have stopped us at that point, especially with the A-bomb. We didn't do that. And then when they locked off Berlin, what do? We started the Berlin airlift. That was all purely to aid people around the world.
It was humanitarian.
So, yeah, I think that we exported a lot of that. I just think that the current 2 generations or 3 generations of leadership in America has sullied that completely and has become very selfish about what their personal needs are. Like Joe Biden.
I think you have been too kind in your sullied.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. I do appreciate it. 508-996-0500. The Brian's Beat quote of the day: 10 soldiers and Nixon coming. We're finally on our own. This summer, I hear the drumming. 4 dead in Ohio. Welcome back. Again, I am all over this Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. The vote in Congress wasn't unanimous, but it was an overwhelming majority. I believe 21 Republicans who control the House of Representatives did not vote in favor. But that meant 100 plus did vote in favor. 80 Democrats did not vote for this. And, I find it hard that I have to side with the Democrats in this particular case. But I look up and down, and our entire delegation is Democratic. Our squad representative did not vote for this. Jake Auchincloss did not vote for it, and there were a couple of others that I know did not vote for it. I was looking for Congressman Keating's name. I didn't see his name on the voted no or voted nay. That doesn't mean he voted yay. He may not have been present that particular day, but I did not see his name listed down there. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. would you classify Hamas's attack on Israel as being a sneak attack? They struck without warning, correct?
I would have to say they did, yeah. I mean, if they warned, what good would that have done them for the attack? I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, well, because we've had two major sneak attacks on our own country. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor and, of course, 9/11. These, because sneak attacks do work, at least for the time being. They're usually successful operations because they hit people when they're vulnerable, when they're not really expecting it.
When they're not expecting it, absolutely.
But the United States responded to those attacks. They never discussed, let's negotiate or have a ceasefire. The United States wanted the unconditional surrender of Japan by the end of the war, and they would accept nothing less, including a change of power in Japan, which the United States occupied and saw to it that the emperor was. They allowed them to keep the emperor, but they more or less made him a figurehead.
He lost his power.
Yeah. It's sort of like the monarchy in England. They really have no political power.
Mm-hmm.
But the United States, the same thing. They wanted unconditional surrender from Adolf Hitler.
Well, he died.
Yeah, but they bombed German cities.
Yes,
my father entered Germany with the U.S. Army. He fought in World War II, and he said the thing that most shocked him was when they entered Western Germany, and the cities there, Stuttgart and Cologne, they were a pile of ashes. The German people were living outside in the winter, gathered around barrels with fires in them. So, the Allies responded with tremendous force. And Germany was a pile of rubble. They bombed day and night,
Are you trying to compare something here?
Well, I'm only saying this, that when you launch an attack on another country, that country is going to respond. If they have the means and they have the wherewithal to respond, they're going to respond. And that's what Israel is doing. They're responding to that attack. And although, look, I feel bad for the people in Gaza. I know, because war is hell. We all know that. There's civilians die in war. World War II, more civilians died than military. That was the first war in history where that happened. So, this is what you get. That area has always been a mess to me. Going back to the Egyptian
Okay, so
Empire.
this is what you get. That's one thing, and all of those Japan and Germany, what you cited is absolutely correct about the devastation. But I believe it was because of that devastation that afterwards they came up with these genocide rules and things like that, of which I'm not going to sit here and say I agree with all of it, but it's out there etched in stone. Yeah. That's number one. All right. So what's happening has already been ruled a genocide, not by Brian, but by the World Court, the International Court of whatever its proper title is. All right. Yeah. So that's that. The other part here is Hamas has not agreed to the ceasefire. It's not like they're complaining about what's happening. Because, in my opinion, they don't believe that they are losing what's going on right now. They believe, and many other people agree with me, is that Israel has really lost this game. Yeah, they bombed the hell out of Gaza, but they can't go anywhere right now. They can't leave their country. They can't. They're losing too much money. They haven't been able to get their hostages, which was one of the things that they want to do. They haven't been able to get at Hamas, which is what they declared that they were going to do. So why are they going to complain and just give in?
Well, I've always felt that even if Israel were to wipe out Hamas, which I don't think is going to happen, just another group would form in in the West Bank and Gaza. Just another group of, Palestinian, whatever you want to call it.
No, whatever the name is going to be.
Yeah.
Yes. And I will agree with you on that.
Because there is so much hatred in that region between the Palestinians and the Israelis. And that region of the world is an absolute mess. And it's monarchies and dictators, and there's very few democracies in that region. I mean,
there is. You'd name me one that is there.
Well, Israel has an elective government. Egypt has...
Yeah, but wait. They have an elective government, but does everybody get to vote?
I don't know. I'm not sure
well,
of that.
Check that out before you call them a democracy. All right? And then call me back. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. 508-996-0500. Let's take one more. Hello.
Good morning, Brian.
Good
How
morning,
are
Brian.
you?
Winging my wang.
What?
I'm winging my wang.
Oh, okay. Anyway, as far as Pearl Harbor goes, they knew that was going to happen.
They may have. I think they had an idea something was going to happen. I don't know that they knew that it was going to be Pearl Harbor. And by the way, I believe that the Bush administration knew that something was going to happen on 9/11. Maybe not to the extent of what happened. But look, there were two other attempts at the World Trade Center during the Clinton administration.
Yeah.
So, what's that telling you?
I don't know, man. I think the Pearl Harbor attack was allowed to help get the economy going again. War makes money. Vietnam made, billions of dollars?
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't know that FDR had anything to go off of at that particular time to tell him that war makes money. World War I wasn't like that.
No, he went in that war late, too, over the Lusitania.
Yes.
I don't even know why. Well, we should have been in it anyway, but I don't know why.
Why did somebody do something to us?
They would have if they could.
Well, I come back. If nobody's doing anything to us, why are we getting involved? And put yourself back into the 19-teens. That's not the kind of country that we were at that particular time.
Yeah, it was different. One more question for you. I'm tired of this world violence. Sports competition. 57-year-old Mike Tyson versus that YouTube troll, Jake Paul. How many punches do you think it'll take Mike Tyson to kill him? I think it'll be the first round if it's a legit fight.
So I know that Tyson is getting back into the ring. I don't know who it is that he's fighting. He's
said fighting this troll Jake Paul that has he's 9-1. He hasn't fought any real fighter. I think Tyson will kill him. I think if you put George Foreman or any of those old guys in there, they would kill him because a boxer, the last thing to go on somebody is their punching power. So Mike Tyson was a very hard hitter.
Definitely.
He's in good shape for his age. I think he will. If this is legit, this kid is in serious. I mean, they might bury him after this. I don't even know why they're allowing this. So I'm wondering if this is just all a show. But
well, wait a minute. You're telling me that this other guy has had some other fights, so he's a legitimate boxer.
No, he's had 10 fights.
But are they professional fights?
2 real boxes, and one of those boxes is Tyson Fury's younger brother, and he lost to him on points. So he's only fought 2 legit fighters. One guy was a tomato can. The other one was average, and he beat him. And he beat some basketball player up, and he's washed up MMA fighters. So he doesn't hit anywhere as hard as Mike Tyson. He's not as fast as Mike Tyson.
Or at least as fast as Mike Tyson used to be.
Mike Tyson's looking good for his age.
When's the fight?
July in Texas.
Okay, well, let's talk about it at that time.
But I'm just telling you, those old guys.
I get you, man. And certainly Tyson is, he's formidable, or at least he was. I appreciate your call. I would give out the number, but it's time for me to pack my bags and let Kim Pittman come in and take over for the next few hours. It's been a pleasure doing it today. And I just want to end again, 4 dead in Ohio because of peaceful protesting that had been going on. Keep that in mind.